It was one of those nights when the world feels hollow. Officer Daniel Hayes had worked enough graveyard shifts to know the pattern. Silence, boredom, maybe a drunk call or a lost dog. He sat in his patrol car off Highway 9, windshield misted from the cold, the radio murmuring static. The dashboard clock glowed 2:47 a.m. He took another sip of bitter coffee and rubbed the tiredness from his eyes. Fairview was a small town, population barely 6,000, and nights here had their own rhythm. One gas station light, the sound of crickets, and the hum of the police scanner breaking the stillness every hour or so. Then the call came. Unit 9, possible domestic disturbance. 12 on 26 Ridgeway Lane. Caller reports screaming. Hayes paused mid-sip. Ridgeway Lane. The name triggered something deep in his memory. A street at the edge of town, overgrown and forgotten. He repeated the address to confirm, expecting dispatch to correct it. Instead came a faint reply, a woman's voice over the line, trembling. "Please help me. He's coming." And then static. The line went dead. Hayes stared at the radio. That voice hadn't sounded like one of the prank callers they sometimes got. There was real panic in it. Breathless, raw. He keyed his mic. Dispatch, confirm caller location, 1226 Ridgeway Lane. Nothing. Just the hiss of static, like the system was suddenly out of range. He sighed, checked his revolver out of habit, and put the cruiser in gear. If this was a prank, it was a damn convincing one. The drive took him past sleeping neighborhoods, the hum of tires on asphalt the only sound. Streetlights grew scarcer until there were none at all, just his headlights slicing through fog. At the end of the road stood a gate rusted half open. Beyond it, the old Turner property. Every officer in Fairview knew that house. The Turners, father, mother, 2 kids, had died there in 2001. No break-in, no forced entry. Neighbors had heard screams, then silence. By the time police arrived, every clock inside had stopped at 3:03 a.m. No one ever figured out why. The case files collected dust and the house was left to rot. Hayes parked at the curb, engine idling. The house loomed ahead like a silhouette against the fog. Tall, skeletal, the windows dark and hollow. Paint peeled from the siding in long strips. The front steps sagged under decades of decay. He radioed again. Unit 9 on scene. Dispatch, do you copy? Silence. Then faintly the same woman's voice, coming through his radio frequency. Please, help me, he's in the house. Her whisper bled through the static like it was right behind him. He stepped out of the car, his breath visible in the cold. The air felt too still, too dense. Fairview PD, he called toward the porch. If anyone's inside, call out. No response, only the soft groan of wood shifting somewhere inside. He unlatched the gate, flashlight in hand, and moved carefully through waist-high grass. Each step crunched on frost. The beam of his light cut across the door, warped, paint cracked into a spiderweb pattern. He reached for the handle and pushed gently. The door creaked open with a sound like bones grinding together. Inside was stale air and darkness. He entered slowly, hand resting on his holster. The floorboards moaned under his boots. Dust floated through the light like snow. The hallway stretched ahead, lined with faded family portraits. He paused in front of one, the Turners. 4 faces smiling stiffly for a long-forgotten camera. Only the father's face had warped under moisture, giving the illusion that he was smirking. Hayes whispered into his shoulder mic. Dispatch, I'm inside. No signs of life. Investigating. The reply came distorted. Negative. That call never came through. He froze. Repeat? There's no record of that call. Static swallowed the rest. A faint sound drifted down from upstairs. A creak followed by something like a whimper. "Ma'am, if you can hear me, it's safe. I'm a police officer." No answer. Only that faint, rhythmic sobbing somewhere above. He climbed the stairs, each step protesting under his weight. Halfway up, the flashlight flickered once, then again, as if the battery were dying, though he'd replaced it 2 days ago. When he reached the landing, the smell changed. Less dust, more metallic. Like rust or dried blood. He followed the sound to a door at the end of the hall, slightly ajar. "Fairview PD, I'm entering." He pushed it open. The master bedroom was untouched. Furniture still in place, sheets yellowed, cobwebs thick enough to hang from the ceiling fan. But on the far wall stood a rotary telephone, the old kind, disconnected from the wall. Its receiver dangled off the hook, swaying gently as if recently moved. He approached, feeling the chill deepen with each step. The air around the phone was colder than the rest of the room. He crouched down, examining the base, covered in dust, but the earpiece was spotless. Then it began to move. The rotary dial spun once, twice, then stopped. Click. 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 Hayes jerked backward, heart hammering. A faint hum rose from the receiver. And then, that same woman's voice, now louder, desperate. "Please help me, he's coming!" He slowly lifted the phone to his ear. "Ma'am, this is Officer Hayes, where are you?" The breathing on the line turned ragged. Then the whisper came again, sharper this time, almost angry. "You took too long." The room went black. The flashlight died, the temperature plunged. He could hear his pulse pounding in his ears. Something moved in the hallway outside. A soft scrape like bare feet dragging across wood. He drew his gun. "Show yourself!" No reply. Then from the far end of the hall, a door opened on its own. Slow, deliberate, the hinges wailing. Through the darkness, he saw a shape, a woman, long hair dripping wet as though she'd come from the rain, though the air was dry. Her head hung low, hands twitching at her sides. "Ma'am, stop where you are!" The woman raised her head. Her eyes were completely black. He fired once. The bullet tore through empty air. She vanished. His radio crackled violently. "Unit 9, request backup at Ridgeway Lane." It was his own voice. "Playing back in reverse." Hayes stumbled backward, his boot catching on something. He looked down. A framed photograph of the Turner family had fallen to the floor. But this time, there was a fifth figure standing behind them, a man in uniform. His face was blurred white, but his badge was perfectly clear. Unit 9, Hayes. The air hummed like an electric current. The walls began to whisper, faint words overlapping each other, children laughing, a man sobbing, a woman pleading. He spun around, flashlight trembling back to life. The hall was now lined with dozens of photographs. All of them showed the same family, but in every picture, they looked worse. Skin pale, eyes black, and in every frame, the policeman behind them stood closer, his expression darker. He ran for the stairs, but the house had changed. The steps were gone, replaced by a wall of rotting wood. He turned. The woman was behind him, smiling now, her mouth torn into a jagged grin. He screamed, fired again, but the gun made no sound. Only the soft click of an empty chamber. When daylight came, another patrol unit found his cruiser still idling, door open. The front door of the house was locked from the inside. They forced it open and searched every room. No trace of Officer Hayes, but on the dusty floor of the living room, they found 5 sets of footprints, 2 adult, 2 child, and 1 leading away from the others. The prints ended beneath a wall where an old rotary phone sat perfectly centered. The phone was off the hook, and from the earpiece a faint recording played on a loop. Unit 9 responding to 1226 Ridgeway Lane. Caller report screaming. The timestamp, 2:47 a.m., the same time the Turners had died. Today the Turner house doesn't exist. It was demolished in 2003 after multiple reports of trespassers and phantom lights. But locals still say that on foggy nights you can hear a faint police radio echoing through the woods. And if you follow it, it leads to an empty lot where the road ends abruptly. Sometimes a faint red and blue light flickers through the mist and a man's voice calls out, "Unit 9 requesting backup." If you answer him, the signal cuts out, and you'll never be heard on the radio again. They say working in law enforcement numbs you to death. But Detective Aaron Cole never got used to the morgue. He'd been with the Henderson County Police Department for over 12 years. Robbery, assault, arson, but death investigations, those still got under his skin. It wasn't the corpses themselves that bothered him. It was the stillness. That suffocating quiet after a life had been switched off. On a rain-soaked Wednesday in March, he was called to a single-vehicle accident on Route 49. A black sedan had veered off the road and slammed into a tree. The driver, male, late 30s, was found pinned behind the wheel, neck broken, body mangled by the steering column. No ID, no witnesses, no sign of foul play. They towed the car and sent the body to the county morgue for post-mortem the next morning. Routine, nothing special. Except the next morning, there was no body. The call came in just before dawn. Dr. Melissa Granger, the medical examiner, sounded frantic. "Aaron, you need to come here right now. We've had a break-in or something." When Cole arrived, the morgue doors were still locked from the inside. No alarms triggered, no signs of forced entry. But the main storage drawer, the one that had held case U0327, the car crash victim, was wide open. Empty. He looked at Dr. Granger. Maybe misfiled? She shook her head, pale and shaking. "I logged him in myself. Drawer 3, baby. He was there at 1:45 a.m. I left for coffee, came back 15 minutes later, and he was gone." Cole frowned. "You checked the cameras?" She nodded toward the security office. They played the footage. 1:32 a.m. Granger wheels in the covered body bag. She logs it, seals the drawer. 1:41 a.m. She exits the room. Then, at 1:43 a.m., movement. The drawer slides open on its own. Cole leaned closer, squinting at the grainy footage. The bag inside the drawer shifts slightly. Then, unmistakably, on something inside sits up. The body bag moves, folds creasing outward as though someone were trying to climb out. The overhead lights flicker once, and the camera feed cuts to black for 9 full seconds. When it comes back, the drawer is empty. Granger whispered. The door never opened. The motion sensors didn't trigger. How could he? Cole cut her off. "Get me the autopsy report." She handed it over, still shaking. Male, estimated 38-42 years. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to chest and neck fracture. Time of death, approximately 11:52 p.m. No alcohol or drugs detected. Tattoo on left forearm, live forever. Cole raised an eyebrow. That's ironic. He left the morgue with a growing unease. The rain hadn't stopped. It came down in thin, needling sheets, making the streets glisten. Something about the case felt wrong. Bodies didn't just disappear. At 9:15 a.m., a call came in from the patrol unit near Route 49. A car had been found, same make and model, still crushed against the same tree. But now, there was a figure standing beside it. Cole drove out immediately. The road was slick, the fog thick enough to blur the tree line. When he arrived, the crash site looked eerily untouched. Glass still glittering on the asphalt, the crumpled car wrapped around the trunk. And standing beside it was a man. He was barefoot, drenched in rain, shirt torn and his neck bent at an unnatural angle, as though broken. He stared directly at Cole's headlights. "Sir," Cole shouted, stepping out of the car. "You need medical?" The man smiled. A wet, gurgling sound came from his throat. Cole raised his flashlight. The beam revealed the tattoo on the man's forearm. Live forever. Then the man turned and walked into the woods. Cole chased him, shouting commands. "Stop, police!" Branches whipped his face. His flashlight bounced across tree trunks, catching flashes of white, bare skin dripping with rain. Then ahead, a clearing. The man stood at the center, perfectly still. The rain had stopped. Cole's breath came out in clouds. "Sir, I need you to sit down." The man tilted his head slightly. His neck cracked audibly, bones grinding like dry wood. Then he whispered, a sound barely louder than the rain dripping from the trees. "You should have left me there." Cole blinked, and the man was gone. They combed the area for hours but found nothing. No footprints, no heat signatures, no signs of anyone walking through the mud. Cole returned to the morgue that evening. Granger was waiting, pale and wide-eyed. She handed him a new security tape. "Watch this," she said. The footage showed Cole himself entering the morgue at 8:12 a.m., checking the empty drawer, speaking with her, and leaving. Nothing unusual, but the timestamp at the top said 3:12 a.m. He frowned. "That's impossible, I wasn't here then." Granger's voice trembled. "That's what I said too, but watch behind you." On screen, as Cole turned to leave, the empty drawer in the background began sliding shut on its own. And for a brief second, a hand reached out from inside. Pale, wet, dripping, the drawer closed completely. The coroner's log still listed the crash victim as unreleased. But when they checked again that night, the drawer had a tag attached to it, handwritten in smeared ink. "Returned." A week later, a fisherman on Lake Henderson reported something tangled in the reeds. When they pulled it out, it was a black body bag, zipped halfway open. Inside was a man, bloated and pale, waterlogged beyond recognition. The tattoo was still there. "Live forever." Cole confirmed the ID. Same victim, same case number. But one detail made no sense. The medical examiner found dirt under his fingernails, fresh dirt. Not from the crash site, not from the lake bed. Soil from the woods near Route 49, less than a mile from where Cole had chased him days earlier. Cole tried to close the case. He filed the report, listed the disappearance as a morgue misplacement, but every night afterward his phone rang at exactly 1:43 a.m. No number, just static. Once he answered, and heard the faint creak of metal drawers sliding open, followed by the sound of water dripping onto tile. Then a whisper. "You brought me back." He hung up and unplugged the phone. But the next morning, his desk phone's message light blinked red. One new voicemail. He pressed play. A male voice spoke clearly. "Detective Cole, drawer 3, baby." And then at the sound of the drawer opening. 2 nights later, the morgue's night custodian quit after reporting footsteps in the freezer bay. He claimed he saw someone standing in the cold chamber, staring at the drawers. When asked to describe him, he said, "He looked drowned, but his eyes were open." The Henderson County morgue now keeps Bay B permanently sealed. No one uses it, but sometimes when the lights flicker in the corridor, you can hear a faint scraping from inside, the sound of metal sliding open. And if you listen closely, a voice whispers softly through the vents, "Live forever." Officer Mark Delaney hated late-night security checks. He had joined the Brookside Police Department thinking he'd be chasing criminals, solving cases, making a difference. But most nights, he just sat inside the surveillance room of the town's new mall complex, half asleep while the monitors hummed softly in front of him. It was a quiet place, just a few small shops, a pharmacy, a toy store, and a diner that closed at 10. By midnight, the building was empty except for the cleaning crew and whoever drew the overnight duty shift. That night, December 11th, the weather was brutal. A thick snowstorm pounding the glass windows, wind howling through every gap. He sat wrapped in his jacket, sipping lukewarm coffee, watching rows of silent screens. Most of them showed nothing. A long hallway, a dark stairwell, an elevator with its doors half open, motionless. Then came the first flicker. Camera 12. It was one of the older cameras, pointing toward the north service corridor, a place no one ever used except maintenance. For a second, static filled the feed. Then, through the distortion, a figure appeared. A woman, standing motionless under the flickering light. She wore a pale hospital gown that hung loose over her body, her bare feet visible against the tiled floor. Her hair looked wet, plastered to her face, and her head was tilted slightly to the side like she was listening to something. Delaney frowned, leaned closer. He tapped the screen. The timestamp read 12:43 a.m. He radioed in. "Dispatch, this is Unit 41 at Brookside Mall. I've got a trespasser in the North Service corridor. Female, mid-30s, wearing, looks like hospital clothing." Static, then a faint reply. "Copy, Unit 41, back up en route." He looked again at the monitor. The woman hadn't moved, just stood there, head still tilted. Then slowly, she smiled. The smile didn't look right, too wide, stretching unnaturally across her face. Delaney blinked and leaned closer to the monitor. When he looked again, she was closer, about 10 feet nearer to the camera. He jolted upright. The timestamp hadn't changed. He switched to the adjacent camera, 13, hoping to see her walking. Nothing, the hallway was empty. He flipped back to camera 12. She was now right in front of it. Her face filled the frame. Her eyes were open, but they were black, like holes burned through her skull. Her lips moved slightly, but there was no sound. Delaney's breath caught in his throat. Then the monitor cut to static again. He grabbed his flashlight and unholstered his sidearm. The corridor wasn't far, just one floor down past the loading bay. The storm outside howled as he made his way through the echoing halls, boots squeaking on tile. Every sound was amplified, the buzz of a vending machine, the hum of lights overhead. He reached the north corridor and aimed his flashlight ahead. "Police, anyone here?" His voice echoed off the walls. No movement, just the steady hum of the security lights flickering overhead. Then from behind him, a faint tapping. He turned, nothing. Then again, tap, 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 like bare feet slapping against wet tile. It came from further down, near the old maintenance door. He moved slowly, the beam of his flashlight jittering with every step. "Ma'am, if you can hear me, stop moving." He reached the end of the corridor and froze. The maintenance door stood half open. Inside was a narrow stairwell leading down into darkness. Something dripped from the ceiling, water maybe, landing in a small puddle at his feet. He took a breath and descended. Each step creaked, metal groaning under his weight. The air grew colder, damper. The smell of mildew thickened. At the bottom, a single flickering bulb swung gently, illuminating a small boiler room filled with old pipes and cleaning equipment. No one there. He swept his flashlight across the room until it landed on the far wall, where a line of old security monitors sat stacked together. One of them, cracked and dusty, was still running. Camera 12. And on the screen, she was standing right behind him. He spun around, heart slamming against his ribs. The beam cut through the air, but the room was empty. He turned back toward the monitors. The image now showed himself, standing in the center of the room, flashlight raised. And behind him in the shadows, the woman began to move. Her head tilted, her limbs jerking unnaturally, like something learning to walk again. "Who the hell are you?" he shouted. The lights flickered violently. Then she was gone from the screen. Something brushed his shoulder. He turned and saw nothing, only the swinging light bulb, casting long, distorted shadows across the walls. Then he saw the wet footprints. Small, bare, leading away from the wall where she'd been standing in the footage. They stopped right in front of him. And then, Another appeared, fresh, right between his boots. Delaney backed away slowly, radio crackling in his hand. "Dispatch, I need backup in sub-level maintenance, possible..." Static. A voice came through, faint and distorted. "Camera 12, she's watching..." The radio went dead. He turned toward the stairwell. Something was standing at the top, a silhouette faint but human-shaped. The head tilted, then it began descending, step by step, slow, deliberate. The sound of wet feet on metal echoed through the chamber. He fired once, the shot deafened the room, ringing off the walls. When the smoke cleared, the stairwell was empty. He stumbled back toward the wall of old monitors. Every screen had turned on now, cameras throughout the building showing different angles. And on every single one of them, the woman was visible standing in random hallways, elevators, doorways. Dozens of her, all smiling. The screen nearest him flickered, and then clear as day a live feed appeared, the security office upstairs. On the desk, his coffee cup sat exactly where he'd left it. And behind the desk, standing perfectly still, facing the camera, was himself. He dropped the flashlight. The image on the monitor turned to static, then slowly faded into a reflection. In it, he saw the woman standing directly behind him, inches from his shoulder. The next morning, mall security found the maintenance door open, flashlight on the floor, and the monitors still running. Delaney's patrol car was parked outside, engine idling. But he was gone. They checked the surveillance feeds. Every camera in the building was clear except one. Camera 12. At 12:43 a.m., the static began. Then a shape appeared, a woman in a hospital gown. A few seconds later, she was joined by a second figure, a man in uniform standing right beside her. Both staring directly into the camera. The timestamp froze. 12:43 a.m. To this day, the Brookside Mall shuts off camera 12 after midnight. But guards swear that when the snow falls heavy, the feed turns itself back on. And sometimes they see two figures on the screen. One is a woman with black eyes and a wide smile. The other wears a police badge. And both look like they're waiting for someone to notice. The call came through at 2:19 a.m., just when the night feels hollow enough for ghosts. Sergeant Emily Carter, dispatch officer for Station 14, had worked plenty of graveyard shifts. She'd grown used to the endless rhythm, check-ins, patrol updates, noise complaints, the hum of radios in the dark. Her station was small, 2 rooms, 1 dispatch console, and a coffee pot that hissed more than it brewed. Outside, rain hit the windows in steady bursts, thunder echoing through the valley. Then over the static came a voice she didn't recognize. "Dispatch, this is Unit 29, do you copy?" Emily frowned. There was no Unit 29 on her roster. She pressed the transmit key. "Unit 29, repeat your call sign." Silence. Then the same voice again, low, shaky. A man's voice strained with panic. "This is Officer Raymond Holt, badge Daribe Ford 213, requesting immediate assistance. Officer down. Repeat, officer down." Her blood ran cold. Raymond Holt. That name hadn't come over the radio in 11 years, because he'd been dead for 10. She sat frozen. The call log blinked on screen, frequency verified. The voice was coming from the old Ridgefield Highway frequency, long retired after the 2014 flood had wiped out that district. "Unit 29 location," she whispered. "Mile marker 74 near the Ridgefield Bridge. He's still breathing. Please hurry." His tone cracked on the last word. It didn't sound like interference, it sounded human. She hesitated, fingers trembling over the keyboard. "Copy, Unit 29. Confirm, did you say Ridgefield Bridge?" Static answered. Then faintly, "He won't wake up." She patched the call to the local patrol. 2 units, Thompson and Rourke, were closest. They acknowledged, puzzled, but followed the coordinates anyway. Minutes crawled by. Then Thompson's voice crackled through. "Dispatch, we're on Ridgefield. No bridge here, just the new overpass." Emily double-checked. The coordinates were exact. The system showed a live ping, frequency active, coming from a point on the map that didn't exist anymore, because the original Ridgefield Bridge had collapsed in the 2014 flood. The same night Officer Holt had died, trying to rescue a family trapped in a submerged car. Thunder rolled. The line hissed. Then out of nowhere, Holt's voice again, louder, clearer, as if he were right outside. "He's waking up! I can't hold him down!" Emily flinched. "Unit 29, backup is en route. Who's waking up?" "He's not breathing right. He's turning gray. I think he saw me." The transmission cut to a high-pitched squeal, like feedback from a dying mic. She ripped off her headset. When the sound stopped, the radio display flickered once, then reset itself. No incoming frequency. No log of the call. At 2:41 a.m., Thompson radioed back. "Dispatch, you might want to hear this. We found a wreck." Her heart pounded. What kind of wreck? "Old patrol car marked Unit 29. Looks like it's been here for years. How'd you even get this call?" She froze. "What did you just say?" "It's crushed under the old bridge supports. Engines rusted through, skeleton inside still wearing the badge." "Badge number?" she whispered. 4213 Holt. She stared at the console. For a second, every light blinked red. The sound of heavy breathing filled her headset, low, uneven, inches from her ear. Then clear as day. "He didn't make it, Emily. The line went dead." She tore off the headset and ran outside. Rain drenched her uniform as she looked toward the valley. In the distance, flashes of lightning illuminated the ridge, and for a heartbeat she swore she saw a single police cruiser, lights still flashing faint red and blue beneath the broken bridge. Then it vanished with the thunder. The following morning, an official report was filed. Unauthorized radio interference, 2:19 a.m., 2:47 a.m. Frequency untraceable. No data logs found. The old Ridgefield patrol car was recovered that same day. Inside, they found the remains of Officer Holt, and on the passenger seat, an ancient police radio. Its cord torn, battery long dead. But the dial was set to the exact same dispatch frequency. 2 weeks later, while cleaning the comms room, Emily found a new recording on the system, time-stamped 2:19 a.m. the night of the incident. She pressed play. Through static came Holt's voice again. "Dispatch, this is Unit 29. Do you copy?" Her own voice followed, answering him. Then faintly in the background, something else, a second voice whispering in between transmissions. "Don't answer him." The station replaced the entire dispatch system the following month. But on stormy nights, when the rain hits the windows the same way it did that morning, the console flickers back to life on its own. The radio hums softly, and if you're sitting alone in the dark, you'll hear a man's voice through the static. "This is Unit 29, officer down, please. Send help. Answer him." And you'll hear him say your name. The night shift at the State Highway Patrol office was always the same. Empty coffee cups, radio chatter, and the steady hum of the surveillance monitors that lined the far wall. Officer Patrick Lane had been working the overnight highway desk for nearly 6 years. His job was simple: review footage from dash cams and traffic cameras after incidents, log timestamps, and flag any evidence for investigation. He didn't believe in ghosts. Until the tape from mile 115 came in. It was a Tuesday morning, 3:10 a.m., when the dispatcher dropped a brown envelope onto his desk. "From last night's pile-up," she said. "Cameras caught something weird. You're on review duty." Lane nodded, tore the seal, and slid the USB drive into the system. The feed opened instantly. Grainy footage from a traffic camera facing a remote stretch of Interstate 6, He adjusted his headphones. At first it was normal, headlights cutting through fog, wind moving tall grass at the shoulder, the dull whoosh of passing cars. Then came the screech of tires, a sedan swerving hard across the lane before crashing headfirst into the guardrail. Glass scattered across the asphalt. The car rolled twice before landing on its roof. Lane winced, scrubbing backward to analyze the frame. That's when he saw it, just for a second standing on the side of the road. A figure in white. He paused. Rewound. Frame by frame, there it was, a person motionless facing the road. The fog made it hard to tell, but it looked like a woman. Long hair blowing in the wind, wearing something that looked like a hospital gown. Her arms hung at her sides, and just before the car hit the rail, she smiled. Lane leaned closer. What the hell? He slowed it again, this time right as the vehicle approached. The headlights washed over her, and in that instant, she vanished. No blur, no shadow, just gone. He checked the timestamp, 02:47:19 a.m., the same time the crash had been reported. He switched to the next file. Dashcam footage from Patrol Unit 17, the first responders on scene. The audio cracked with static. The cruiser's headlights cut through the darkness, approaching the overturned car. The officers exited, their flashlights flickered through the fog. And then faintly in the background, a woman's voice whispered, "Help him!" Lane paused again, rewound. He played it frame by frame. The voice was there, faint, distant, not over the radio, but from somewhere near the camera mic. He rubbed his face uneasy. Maybe interference, maybe a voice echoing from the crash victims. He opened the final clip, the post-incident body cam from one of the officers. The timestamp matched 2:52 a.m. The officer was checking the passenger seat of the wrecked sedan. The driver was dead. The passenger, a young man, still alive, gasping. "Stay with me, buddy. Can you tell me your name?" The man's lips trembled. She stepped in front of us. Then his eyes went wide. He began screaming, pointing toward the fog. "She's still there. She's still..." The feed cut off. Lane leaned back, unsettled. He checked the case notes. The passenger, Evan Rourke, was pronounced dead in the ambulance 10 minutes later. No further witnesses. He glanced at the monitor. The playback window had frozen. Static hissed in his headphones. And then faintly, a woman's whisper again. "He saw me." He yanked the headphones off, heart pounding. The audio file was still playing, even though the timeline had stopped. He unplugged the system. The screen went black. The next morning, Lane filed his report, but didn't mention the whispers. He told himself it was a glitch, corrupted data from the crash. 2 days later, another envelope landed on his desk. Same area, mile 115. This time, a different accident. He hesitated before opening it. The footage started the same. Headlights, fog, the curve of the highway. Then at 2:47 a.m., another car drifted toward the shoulder. He froze. Same figure. Same hospital gown. Same smile. She stood at the exact same spot as before, right where the guardrail bent toward the trees. And this time, she turned her head. Right toward the camera. Lane's blood ran cold. He took a screenshot, zoomed in. Her face was pale, eyes hollow, mouth slightly open. Not in a grin, but a silent scream. Behind her, the faint outline of a wrecked sedan was visible. The same car from 2 nights earlier, but that crash site had already been cleared. He checked the system clock, 2:47 a.m. again. Exactly the same second. He reported it to his supervisor, but when they reviewed the footage together later that day, the clip was clean. No woman, no fog, just a quiet stretch of highway. That night he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the hollow stare, the lips that never stopped moving. as if she was mouthing something no one could hear. At 2:47 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Static. Then, a faint woman's voice. You saw me. The call ended instantly. The phone displayed no record of the call ever happening. The next morning, Lane returned to the office early. He replayed the crash footage again, slowing every frame. And then, for the first time, he noticed something new. In the reflection of the car's side window, a man's face. Not one of the victims, it was his own. Watching from the roadside, he stared, frozen. He hadn't been there. He was 50 miles away in the station. But there he was, face pale, eyes wide, standing behind the woman in white. His hands began to shake. He unplugged the drive and threw it into the trash. 3 weeks later, Lane stopped coming to work. When officers checked his apartment, they found his laptop still open, the same footage looping endlessly on screen. At 2:47 a.m. every night, the playback would start on its own, showing the same woman stepping onto the highway, the same car swerving toward her, and the same faint voice whispering through the speakers. He saw me. They shut the laptop. But when they turned to leave, one of the officers swore he heard the faint sound of tires screeching outside. When they looked through the window, nothing but empty road, stretching into the fog. The clock read 2:47 a.m. Today, the local highway patrol refuses to review any footage from mile 115 after midnight. The feed is permanently offline, but sometimes when the fog is heavy, truckers report a woman standing by the guardrail, barefoot, wearing white, watching the cars pass by. And every dash cam that records her shows the same thing in the final second before she vanishes. A reflection of a man in uniform standing right beside her. If you made it this far, thank you for spending your night with us. If these stories gave you chills, there's plenty more waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to Night Fear Stories for new terrifying tales every single night. Sleep well, if you can.